Then let's go.
Welcome to the Thursday, March 13th, Community Services Advisory Board meeting. I'd like to call it to order, and it is now 6:03, I think, if my watch is correct. Maybe off a little bit, but if everyone who is here could just quickly, I'm gonna start with Art, just go around and say your name for the purposes of the meeting.
Art Dillon?
Karen Shoup, Town Council Liaison.
Yep, Bill Donovan, Town Councilor.
Alex Marshall.
Nick Klisch, Community Services Director.
Nicole Hall, Community Services.
Emily Loader, Vice Chair and Secretary.
And Trish Brigham. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And I know that Ellen Quinn is on her way, and then Ellen Quinn is here, and Amanda Doherty is on her way, so we clearly have a quorum to go. So, we've got committee. Absent are our two new board members. One of them, this is the second meeting they've missed. I don't know if there are any particular criteria for number of meetings you can miss, or do we just keep rolling?
I'm not aware that there's a current,
Yeah, I don't think we have anything.
there's no expectation.
Okay, all right, so we will hope, we've yet to introduce them, Brittany and Daryl, so we will hopefully introduce them at the next meeting. We've got two guests, two town council members, and I think we will allow you to speak under the citizen comment. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting, which was January 9th?
So moved.
Second.
Third. Anybody have any comments or corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
They have been
There.
motioned to vote.
All in
To
favor?
vote, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
to approve the minutes. All those
All
in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I guess I should have added during the comment, but I just wanted to thank Nicole for stepping in at that meeting and really being a guide to help guide us through. So thank you for that. Okay, citizen comment. Karen and or Bill. I know Karen, you're our liaison, so I'm not sure where you fit, whether you're a citizen or we should have you,
She can talk anytime.
do you want
Well,
to
no,
talk
I think
anytime?
I'll speak under, I mean, I have an update
On
from
the
the school
schools,
site and
okay.
Bill is on that committee, so he can speak to as well. And then I think when we talk about goals, I think if it comes to citizen comment, I guess all I would say is I shared with Trish and, I shared with you some minor edits that we wanted to make to the animal ordinance. So I didn't know if we could maybe revisit that at a future meeting to just have a quick discussion over that change. It never made it to ordinance. I am the chair of ordinance.
Because of these issues that we need to fix, is that why it didn't make it to ordinance?
My feeling is because I think it was, Todd was kind of on his way out and it was, and this
Yeah,
is also.
We did it.
Right.
Uh-huh. And so I think my preference would be to ordinance isn't even meeting next month anyways, would to revisit it really quick with you guys, just discuss the quick changes. They make perfect sense. And then we can kind of move it forward.
And we think we'd like to go through normal course, which means you guys give it your blessing after a full review, goes to ordinance, we'll give it a full review, then it will go to the council. And since, you know, dogs on the beach are always of some note.
Oh, wait a second. I thought this is the dog animal ordinance that you want to change, not the piping plover.
So that,
You would approach me on the piping.
so
plover.
it's within the animal control ordinance.
It's within the
There's
animal-
language about dogs on the beach. and
Yeah.
We want to change the dates to coincide with the piping plover changes we made.
Okay,
So it's kind of more clerical, but it's also like,
Right,
we're changing laws,
Okay.
and rules about dogs.
Okay.
Let's have a little
yeah. So
transparency
it's
behind
vague
it.
Primarily, okay, because it did have our review and blessing. Now
Correct,
we're
and
gonna
that, the
review
pipe, the
that.
plover stuff went
just to
through.
make sure we're all on the same page.
Got it.
But
Okay.
it's the dog ordinance that you have some edits on, that hasn't gone to the.
Correct, that you guys worked on previously that just never went through.
Never went forward.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess. Do we want to do that? Now?
The dog thing?
No.
No, we need to
we'll
post an
walk up.
agenda. We need to, I actually was a little confused because it was a little broken up, the materials I was provided.
Okay, but if we don't do this now, we don't meet again until May.
Correct. I
And
mean,
your
it's too
ordinance is
early.
meeting.
It's too early in the, it's too close to the summer season. I feel like to be making any drastic changes to the beach ordinance at this
Yeah.
point.
But we
made
made them like back in the fall, so I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yep.
I don't know how the rest of this committee feels, but I
Agreed.
don't think we wanna wait another year on this. We spent a
Make
lot of
another
time.
summer.
We spent
another
3
summer
to
go
6 months on this ordinance, so I'm not sure we wanna, I don't know, I may be speaking out of turn. Other committee members wanna jump in on that?
Well, I see it as, we did what we should have done. It's now on the town council level side,
Correct.
and I'm not faulting for
That's
not,
fine.
I don't need to say they haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
It's, they weren't quite as ready as we were, because we started earlier.
Yeah, and I just, I want to say, like, we just passed something that was presented that from another committee that they had presented, that they had prepared a year and a half before. And it took a year and a half for council to get to it.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest concerns that I have now is making a change so close to the beginning of the season. Where I feel like we'd be making
I
sign
agree
changes,
with
and
that.
Todd's words are just ringing in my head about signs. And if we were making changes to the signs about the dogs, I don't know if that would be something we would have to change as well.
It would be something that would have to change.
And that's where I think,
You're already making sign changes because of because of the beach stuff anyway.
right, so if we were
So would
to
it-
put this on the May ordinance agenda,
Sure.
it would not be onto the June council agenda and not voted on until June.
Yeah.
And so like, that timeline wouldn't, it would be too late. We would already be past the time that we were changing for what the changes we are, or, and so I appreciate the frustration that you guys did all the work on it, and I actually don't know why it sat on Todd's desk and did not come forward. I was not on ordinance last year. I do not know how the former chair managed ordinance. Typically, if someone comes from a committee and they're like, we have an ordinance for you, there's pretty much an obligation to take that up. And so that's why I was a little confused, and I was like, where? what is
Yeah, we're
happening
all
with this?
confused, because none of us understood why it didn't come forward.
Yeah.
It should have come forward, and
It
I
should.
thought that it had.
And I wonder if that's maybe my failure as a liaison, where I'm going, you guys did all this work, where is it, Todd, or, ordinance agenda, have you seen this yet? With that being said, I personally don't want to take up your meeting, but I don't want to jump into something that no one else has seen, because you were the only one that I shared it with, so shared it from our residents saying, let's make these little changes.
It kind of fell through the cracks, but not on our end, so it's, I mean, it's,
So in
Let's make-
summary, are we asking to
happens.
review something else, or are we asking to share what stuff we already did?
We were presented with some minor changes to the changes that you already, or like, in addition to the changes.
The
that this-
recommendations that we made for
Correct.
the animal,
Correct.
because we
Correct.
did the whole thing, didn't we?
this,
Yes.
this
Yes.
would be like the amendments, but not at the last minute, like at the last.
So can we not just send an email saying these are the amendments we want to make, and then send it out to everybody?
I could share the material with you guys.
Yeah.
Of what the changes are, and then I can see if that's something that we could do.
I think it would make
Good
sense,
feedback.
because honestly,
I think
I
that's,
think it sends. You get volunteers that spend a lot of time, and it appears that nothing ever gets done. You've got a perception that you're creating that nothing gets done in this community. We do survey after survey after survey. We change ordinances after ordinances after ordinances, and nothing happens. I'm saying as a community member, and perhaps separate from this committee, if we keep putting things off, it just keeps reinforcing that perception. And so if we can do something that Emily said to move this
You can
along.
direct all that right to me.
Well, I guess
It
I
is
am.
on my plate, and I will say I am a due diligence where I was the one requesting to make sure that we were doing our due diligence with any sort of, I don't know, I don't want to go on sideways, but anyways.
So why don't we say going forward that if you can share those
Right.
amendments with the board for us to review, and then if we feel that there's anything that requires discussion or anything like that, then we can reach back out to you. If not, then we would say, great, these are good, move on with them.
Yep.
So, good.
And I apologize, I was late, as I
Yep.
had mentioned, just at soccer practice, but we're talking about the animal control ordinance. I spent like 12 hours.
Yeah.
myself.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay, just making sure that I.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
Correct. Yes.
point.
Okay.
That
No,
is
I
the
just,
point.
I was hoping we were talking about something else when I came in. So,
It was months and months and months, and to have all of these volunteer people spend all that much time and to have it stuck for another year is very frustrating.
Yeah,
As long as you're safe, but I did. That's all that matters.
Especially when we did it so far in advance of the
Yes.
busy season.
So that we could get it done for
And
the
then,
summer.
and then we can
Just
use,
disincentive for
Right.
people to volunteer and get involved. Okay, so do we have, what's our next step? Our next step is you're gonna send to us the differences to the whole committee. We can
Right.
do it via email and
I
get back
will,
to you.
I will work with
Yeah.
Nick and Nicole to make sure I understand what the minor edits are. And
we'll see if
Get
we can
that
move it
going.
along.
That would be appreciated.
We have not ordered signage yet. We're still in the process, so if we, I don't know if they'll make it.
It won't, I mean, we're not meeting till
We'll
May.
do our best, but we can at
Yeah.
least recirculate the ordinance, get the ordinance submitted and move forward, have a pathway forward.
Do you have a deadline of when you're looking to order signage by?
It sounds like it wouldn't happen until mid-season.
I think.
Like
this-
that would
this is
probably
for
be end up
change for
being the turnaround.
2026.
Right.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
So we would have to move forward with our sign.
Well, you have to order new stuff anyway for this year, do you not?
Yeah, but the dogs are separate. So like in a perfect world, if we had all of the stuff we needed, we send it to our sign person and they like configure it on the metal so that multiple signs are printed strategically.
Mm.
Doesn't mean that they can't print the dog ones separately, and we've done that before, but it's
and
like,
as I remember it, we were clarifying things. So I'm not sure that there's gonna be,
Well, there was reorganization and definition.
yes, but I don't, like, the hours aren't changing, so,
It's more the dates, I think.
well,
And distances.
yeah,
No, but it's their dates that are
Yeah.
changing.
right.
and I don't believe the sign, there are at least some signs that have the dates
Specific
stated,
dates,
so.
correct.
Okay,
And did your committee do anything over email?
What?
Like, we're gonna review it over email, and you're saying that it goes to your committee, and the only way your committee functions is you present it at the meeting, everyone has a say, and then you move forward. There's no like, you know,
Work in
version of
between meetings.
approving it
Virtual.
over email.
no.
Okay.
No,
Got it.
All public meeting.
Right, makes
Yeah.
sense. Got it.
okay, so we know how we're gonna resolve that. Introduction of new members. Well,
there-
Nick,
Is there any other citizen comment though?
oh yeah,
Is
is
there
anyone on the,
No? Okay.
thank you for that reminder. This is an introduction of Nick. Welcome, Nick. Do you want to say a few words?
I'm really excited to be here. Obviously in Scarborough, I had my PCLB meeting, committee meeting this morning, so.
What does that stand for?
Parks
Thank-
Conservation Land Board meeting.
Got it.
So I did this morning.
The acronyms are already rolling up.
I know.
We've jumped in full force, but yeah, so I come way of Portland. I've been with the city of Portland for the last 18 years. The last 3 as the recreation director there. I was born and raised in Vermont. I went to college at Thomas College, got my degree in sports management there. Got a minor in marketing at Thomas. While I was there, I interned with the Portland Sea Dogs for a full year. So I kind of grew some love for Southern Maine and knew I wanted to relocate after college. So that's kind of what brought me down to the Portland area. I jumped on as a summer camp counselor and really did every single job all the way up through the department to becoming the director for the last 3 years. So municipality and municipal recreation is my love and my passion. I'm really excited about the opportunity. I live in Saco, a little bit closer, not too far away. So just looking forward to working with everybody on what we are doing here. And I do want to say thank you for all your extensive work that has gone in, especially with the beach fees. I surely jumped into the fire there in the first few days, being at a council meeting and then a workshop. So you know, now that we have that passed through, I did want to say thank you for all your work on that. I know there were some bits and pieces the last month or so. A lot of amendments tossed back and forth, but we have a pathway forward, so I'm very excited about that. But thank you for your work on that and looking forward to more work.
And Alex, you let him go.
Here's my work buddy.
I don't have anybody to yell across the hall to commiserate on things with. It's a bit of a loss for me, but. it's
Well,
all
we're
right.
glad
Now
you're
he's-
here.
Now he's here and we get to work with him in the
Yeah.
town, so.
We're glad you're here and you can see that there is a high level of passion for the work that we're doing.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one is election of new officers and we need to do that, I guess. Anybody, so. Anybody interested in any of, we need a chair and a vice chair and a secretary, right?
And right now Emily's acting as vice chair and secretary.
Yeah.
She does it all.
She is.
Yeah. Can we vote to stay the same or would that be against your wish?
So you wanna nominate someone for chair right now?
I nominate Trish for, oh my gosh, Trish for chair.
Yeah.
And I nominate Emily for vice
We do-
chair.
No,
No,
one
let's
at a
do,
time.
we'll do Trish
Need a
first,
second.
and we need someone to
Does
second.
anyone, please, anyone else is interested, please step forward. Do you accept?
So then you vote.
We can have more than one person to be nominated for each position.
That's right. And so I toss it up.
This is my last season, so
Okay.
sorry. And I had only done it for like 10 or 12 years.
Has there ever been such a thing as a co-chair?
For
I
past
mean-
practice
Well,
here,
it's
No,
vice chair.
it's
This
just
is-
chair and vice
Kind
chair,
of
but I
the-
mean, you
it's
guys
kind of
can,
the
I think you
same
can just share it if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
I am happy to take a nomination as chair if anybody wants to do that. Because I feel like you're so stressed out.
I'll nominate
Just for the
Emily.
next like 6 to 8 weeks.
I'll nominate Emily as well for chair.
No, it's very long.
Sorry.
So we have 2 nominations on the table. So now we need to vote. Oh, Roger, are you there?
Yes, I am.
You want to be chair?
We nominate Roger
No.
as secretary.
So you're ready to vote then? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so all those in favor of Trish for chair? Please,
Well,
how do I
Yeah.
do
may I
this?
interrupt?
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
please do. I don't want to do it myself.
Well, normal process.
Well, that's
is only
what
one
I
that's
want
put
to
forward.
hear is, yes, you'll do it, or I prefer to step back and let the next person do it. I mean,
Yeah, that's, so we had
I
a
don't
second.
wanna-
Is there a discussion on Trish's
true,
nomination?
true,
So let's
true.
discuss Trish's nomination first. I would like your feedback. If you don't want to do it, or you think it's too much, I think you need. you need to-
I'm okay with doing it. I just have a ton of stuff going on in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And after that, I should be better, I'm hoping. So it's just like right now, my head will explode soon. So yes, I would do it. For the rest, actually, I have a caveat. I will do it only if Emily stays on in her current role. If that is not the case, then I'm gonna shift it over to her.
little hook.
So
That's why I asked about the co-chair, because I think we make a pretty good team.
I am happy to commit in any role that is needed for the betterment of this committee.
Technically, if the vice chair hypothetically, if you couldn't fulfill your duties, the vice chair fills in,
Exactly.
so it's in that sense. it's a
That was kind of
co-chair,
why I was
kind of,
asking for
Yeah.
kind of a co-chair.
I just get to do stuff anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I know.
But that's
So
fine, that's
yes,
fine
I would
here.
accept it if Emily will stay on sort of as a co-chair to,
You're running me.
yes, my running mate.
So then you need, I think you need to vote on Trish.
Correct.
All right, let's vote on Trish.
All in favor?
I'm with him.
Thank you, Roger.
I
And
would like to nominate Emily as vice chair. of the
Second.
committee.
all those in favor?
Do we have to discuss?
I'm with it.
And Roger, I'd like to nominate for secretary.
Oh my God, no, I.
No.
Okay. can
Ruin all
you
my
do-
beautiful
Can you
work.
continue?
I would be happy to continue, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All those in favor for Emily as secretary?
Sorry,
I know, you're so good at it.
I know.
you are.
It's hard to be good at
Google Drives
things.
and-
I know.
Yeah.
Roger?
I'm with it.
Okay, I think we're good. Thank you. All right.
Are there any other
Thank
positions?
you, guys.
As a committee?
Round of
Any
applause
other
for your,
Yeah,
years
thank you,
work
ladies.
of
I
work.
don't think we don't have any other positions, I don't believe.
No.
Okay.
But seriously, thank you both.
Yes, truly. I do think we're a good team and you're next.
And Emily, thank you for doing
Oh,
2
right off
roles.
into The sunset, yes. You just
Oh,
are
good.
super efficient.
I
Like you're the
know.
best secretary I think I've ever had the privilege of working with.
Well, I think I make it very clear when I am unavailable, I am unavailable, so, you will get nothing, or when I am, then you'll get everything, so.
Amazing.
Okay, community services director update.
Sure. So I wanted to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about budget. We're getting into budget season, so I wanted to give an overview. There are copies on the table of both the community service, so we kind of break those down into two segments. The community services in grounds as one unit. And then we have the municipal buildings and facilities as kind of, we're all one, but we break our budget down into two areas. So we have copies here on the table. Roger, I'm happy to send you those via email if you would like. So I just
Yeah.
want to kind of walk through that a little bit. So our proposed FY 26 budget, and I want to say a caveat before we start. This is not a finalized budget. Tom has just seen this recently. There are expectations that this will probably change and ebb and flow over the course of the next couple of weeks. And I will communicate when we have more of a secured finalized budget that we'll propose to council in the coming weeks. But our proposed FY 26, our expenditures are going to be around 4.267 million. Our revenues are going to be a little over 3,337,000. That's a net difference of $1,230,000. If you compare that to FY 25, our expenditures in FY 25 were 3,894,000. And our revenues were 2,996,000. So the net difference in FY 25 was 897. And our net difference this year is 1.23. So the net difference overall between the two budgets is $333,000. And I'll talk a little bit about where that money is pigeoned to go towards. It's twofold. I've requested 2 additional positions in this next budget. Those 2 positions would greatly benefit our efficiency and help to support the capacity within both childcare and programming. We have not added to that division in numerous years. Recently, we have added to the grounds team. We've had 2 positions there, which have dramatically helped town operations and dramatically helped the abilities to maintain our parks, open spaces and athletic fields. So our goal with these positions are to meet the need of the growth of the community. If you look at our childcare division, our summer camps, we fill within a day or 2 days. We have high wait
You mean
lists.
like an hour?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
moments, right?
Minute.
I was trying to be a
Yeah,
little
let's
bit.
be real here.
Uh,
I've been there.
It's harder than getting a concert ticket. It's
Yes.
very similar to where we stood in Portland. That's twofold as well. That is a staffing piece, but that is also a spatial concern. We only have a certain amount of space within the schools. It is one of my goals within the next year to work with the school department. To develop some, understanding around our needs and getting some more support to increase our capacity there as well. But if you look at it, those 2 positions account for 170,000. And that's wages and benefits all in two total positions. So 170 of that 332 is 2 positions. And then in addition to that about $100,000 in just additional operating costs, operating contractual lines to support needs, which is not a large ask in a department budget of our size. Again, just around those 2 positions, talking about Steve's position in general. Steve is the recreation waterfront manager, but also oversees recreational programming. So when Steve's immersed in the beaches, our programming lacks, we have to contract out all of our services. Our goal would be to support more of that internally and have somebody be able to piggyback the beaches with him. A Monday through Thursday schedule, a Tuesday through Saturday to offset. And we're looking at staff retention as a big piece as well. We cannot have our staff working 6-7 days a week and expect to maintain what we put out for effort. Same thing. Care. She's been essential in day-to-day operations and filling in. And it's just not a longevity piece that we can maintain moving forward. So those are the reasons why I've pushed those positions forward and we're hopeful to get those approved in the next budget. If you look at it as a whole, it's a 5.75% increase on expenditures without the positions.
Slow down.
Sorry.
What is the percentage?
It's a 5.75 increase on expenditures without the positions. It's 10.15 with the positions. And if you look at it, Scarborough Community Services would be 71% self-sufficient. and 29% taxation supported if those positions were included in our totality of our budget. In comparison, last year, we were around 71, 72, what did I say? 76, 77%. So the change is about 5-6%. But again, heavily, it's around wages, benefits, cost of increases in healthcare and wages improving in two new positions. So I feel pretty good about the budget we propose. And there's not a lot of fluff there. We were very mindful of our resources and what we put forward. And again, reasoning, expanding our programming. Our goals are to increase our programming, not just maintain status quo. I think from my just early purview here in a month's time, I think we've maintained status quo for long enough. And it's time for us to really try to meet that growth of where the town is at this point in time. And to do that, we cannot do it as we are currently constituted. In addition to that, we already have targets and connections with youth and adult archery programs that we want to bring in, summer specialty camps. We've already drastically improved or expanded our active adult program. We're doing a ton more with that. Gail, our active adults coordinator, is programming a ton, so we're very happy there. And these positions can be seen, while in one realm, kind of hybrid positions to help support the totality of our department. In addition to those handouts, you saw our CIP in the narratives I put together for those narratives for FY26. And then you'll see the 5-year capital improvement plan. I do want to say that there's obviously going to be ebbs and flows to those. I know if you first look at it and you see the community center 5 years away, they're kind of like, all that work that we put in. Well, we're on halt right now while we figure out the school situation. And then that will determine a pathway for us to have a better idea of how to push forward that project to make it feasible for the town of Scarborough. Really focused on FY26 projects that were on the top of Todd's queue. Or ones that were really, we got a lot of feedback from the community that needed to be done. So those were the ones that we, and it's not to say that we'll get all those approved in the budget. If we get a handful of those, including some of the equipment, it'll be necessary for our operations and our output and effort. So that's really all I wanted to discuss budget wise. I'm happy to answer any questions now or after about the budget. But again, I just want to send caution to this is very preliminary. And we have a ways to go before this happens, when Tom puts together the full budget.
Thank you, Nick. Does anyone have questions?
The park ranger in there?
Is a full-time park ranger position in there?
Yeah.
It is not in there at this time.
Wait, so we have one full-time. I thought we were gonna ask for 2 more.
2 more full-time.
I thought we were,
We had a full-time season.
right? And then
I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
So-
Repeating. what
So
we did last year.
how we operated similar to last year, we had essentially 3 full-time park rangers, and that's how we're gonna operate this year as well.
Okay.
And in FY26, we didn't put increased capacity on top of that, but we will mimic the output that we had last summer.
Great, thank you.
My question is about the community center, which you already pointed out. It is slated for 2030. When we've had the ad hoc committee. This is gonna, so what we were told, my understanding is once the school passes, we can move forward on that. I'm hopeful. It sounds like the school is going to referendum in November.
that's the plan, correct?
And then we have all that information in the building drawn up by the, Alex was on the ad hoc committee. Thank you, Alex. Why do we think it's gonna take us 5 years?
Honestly, it's only a placeholder. I had a matter
don't
of
like
3
the
weeks to
placeholder.
put the
Okay.
entire CIP together. It was of the time and information I was given at that time of where the school had not made any decisions or anything yet. That needs to move up. We obviously know it's not gonna happen in FY26. So if we get a good school decision and we have some advice on where to move forward, that can be expedited in next year's budget, all the way up to FY27 or FY28, FY29. It's a placeholder.
It's a placeholder. Are you gonna move it up before this gets finalized, or you're saying once the school passes, you'll move it up in years?
I can move it up in the matter of years. It won't be appropriated or discussed as a part of the FY 26. So it's really just on the 5-year plan in a place.
Okay.
But we can move it up as we get more information. But it won't change anything for the FY 26 budget.
Anytime that you provide documents like this, if you can also upload them to our 2025 Google folder, that would be really helpful. Which you should already have access to.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Gonna say, when it's complete and if you want to share it and want our, not that you need our approval, but our endorsement. If that helps you,
Sure.
let us know.
Oh, I think it will. I mean, just in the advocation of resources, as the budget's being proposed and pitched at town council, I think support around, our needs and our needs to move forward is gonna be incredibly important, because we're not getting any smaller. We're growing every day. So I think the time is now to start investing in the future.
Right?
I have one question. If you're expanding the programming, is there a way to make it more self-sustaining?
Yes. So right now, we haven't been told that we're getting a position, whether that position is gonna be in childcare, or if it's gonna be, or we're gonna have to hybrid a position. Is it gonna be one? Is it gonna be two? So we can account for some revenue, but we can't put up a full projected broadcast on that because we don't really know where we're gonna end up. But it will change the revenue numbers and, we'll see increased revenue.
I would also suggest as part of a compelling argument, another community childcare was actually a revenue driver for community services when I was on the board there. You could make more money if you had more space.
Right.
So that, I would suggest, should be part of your presentation of, here's the upside of the revenue, which argues for a community center and more space. And if we're putting it out 4 or 5 years, that's revenue that's being blown into the wind that otherwise could be in the budget and offsetting tax increases.
And we may get to this when we have the school conversation, which is our update, which is on the budget, but just to make sure you're aware of it. We had a conversation about some way, it was probably too late, but some way to have the folks that are looking at and evaluating the school plan to recognize the benefit of having the community center really travel alongside of it rather than waiting for it, especially if there was a potential for a co-location. So you may very well be aware of that, but I just wanted to highlight that because I thought that was very brilliant of us to think of.
And is sharing the expenses of,
Yeah.
we were talking about tips money.
Mhm.
That was one of Todd's favorite things to talk about.
Like to-
Well, and just like, after school programming or,
Well,
whatever it is, like it just is more efficient, which also can streamline costs. So,
and they were
Bring
talking about,
in more revenue. Like, Girls on the Run, so to speak, can be at a
Right.
school facility or a community service center, so there's a cost to not moving forward with some of these things, and that should be put into the picture for the taxpayers.
Well, I think one thing that I'm not sure the whole community is aware of, but we actually pay the school department to utilize space in the schools for after school. So
Yeah.
some of that revenue that's coming in,
Which is,
we're paying out to the school department. So that's a unique thing that I've not been a part of.
I would say
in
that's,
past times.
that needs,
It
I
needs to
would
go.
suggest that needs to be,
broad.
like, in other communities, it's a sharing, it's a one-town concept. So that is something that I would strongly suggest that whomever the powers that be really take a look at that. That's ridiculous.
They
Like,
do
Me during
assist
the
us.
budget season.
it's given to Peter, taken from Peter to give to
We
Paul.
need someone on the school board to support it, and you can pull papers right now to run for school board, I'm just saying.
I will
Um,
say that they do reimburse us for 2 grounds positions, so there is some comeback in that, but that's separate from.
Yeah.
After school programming and space needs.
That's not abnormal either. Similar scenarios happen in Portland where the schools are built for field use and other areas.
Just think
of their
how
operation.
much money you could save in your accounting department if you streamlined all that inter-office billing.
You could, but you have to think about the schools actually ended up getting pretty significant deal in the end for what we were actually billing them back for, and that helps offset some of the parks are non-revenue generating operation. So it's incredibly challenging to offset those costs. It's all subsidized. And so you need to find a way to cover costs in order to increase your resources and your capacity. And as much as it doesn't seem like the right thing to do to build a sister company as a part of your umbrella. It does help the operation and to help offset that, or else you're struggling. I mean, it's hard to ask for things when you don't have any offset for it.
But that's part of how we market a budget to the taxpayers. You're paying for your parks, you're paying for your schools.
Yes,
Like,
but those are the first things to go when budget gets tight. Doesn't matter how pretty of a picture you paint,
I know,
the bottom of the list.
yeah.
And then I just want to circle back on the community center. I want everybody to know, I want to champion that effort. It was one of the primary reasons I applied for this job
Yeah.
and wanted to come here because I see it as a need. It's a need in Portland. It's a need here. It's a need for our growth. So I don't want it to seem like I just pushed it down as a placeholder and not seem like that's a focus or at the front of my mind. It's absolutely at the front of my mind, and I want to make sure that gets done in my tenure.
Thank you.
Yes, we're behind you.
I did have a question about your capital improvement plan, the ice rink kit, that's, are we relocating the ice rink?
No, so this is because, the ability to keep ice rinks, open. Is not certainly feasible these days with the weather and the climate that we have. So these are more portable units.
Okay,
And it's to pour a pad and put a
Okay.
pad down there, which will also be multi-purpose usage. It would be addition to, but it would allow us to operate them way more than what we operate now because they're closed for various reasons.
same
More specific
location.
weather.
Oh, I didn't even see that page.
So it is easier to keep the ice than, notwithstanding that you're still dealing with the climate change problems of warm weather.
Yeah, and it's contained in an area, it's not getting snow, we're not having it cleared of snow, and it's just way more operation.
We talked in the past about with the community center. And this was like pie in the sky. Having a pavilion that we could put a community center under in the winter and then removing to use for other events. For the rest of the year, and that would be in line with what you're proposing here, although more expensive and,
Yeah.
but might be. We could think of ways to have it be a revenue earner as well.
At least to break even.
Yes.
And then we just renewed the lease with the hub, right?
Yes.
And how many years do we have?
3 years.
We have another 3 years.
Very minimal increase,
And so then
maybe 3,000.
you're asking for a digital sign. Is that something that we would take with us?
It would be a movable, digital sign that would go to the future communities.
Just ask me before you
You
ask.
just handed this to me. I cannot review everything.
So that will just say like events that are coming up
Yes,
or
it
whatever.
helps us market way better.
Yeah,
yeah.
We can't access that when we're
Yeah,
actually
no,
out
makes
in the
sense.
winter.
If you see it right now, it says 2/1 passport day, like we
Yeah.
just haven't gotten out.
Yeah.
To change it,
that's
it's kind of a liability to go traipsing out
Yeah,
there,
no, that's
so.
good.
Yeah, I mean,
But that is something we
Employee
want to be able to
retention.
go to the next.
can't lose an employee out
I
there.
think that's great.
Change it.
And then,
Right.
and then with the Eastern Trail, why does the Eastern Trail Alliance not provide safety fencing and things like that? Is that on the towns to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on us for this as part of our.
Okay.
So that's it for budget that I had in terms of that. I'll try to be really quick on my last pieces of updates. I just want to update on the beach projects. Beach fees and beach projects are top of the line recently. We are on pace to have everything done by the start of the beach season. And our last piece right now, we have a few things with, updating the split rail fence over there. Those are small nominal projects and most of the work has been done. But those will include the new dedicated exit and entrance gate system. It'll include that new split rail fence.
Are you only referencing Pine Point?
This is at Bird Park. Yep.
Yep.
These are all the projects that were appropriated and approved in FY 25 that will be completed. So the new pedestrian walking path, the new trolley stop, the new ADA Moby mat, which will allow us to be ADA compliant from both entrance and exit points. And then lastly, the formal bid process, I got that out in the last few weeks for the seal coating, striping and crack fill of the primary parking lot. So that is due next Thursday, and then we will finalize the contractor and have that done on May 1st. So we're on pace to have everything that was appropriated, finalized, done for this week's season.
I know there were emails, but can someone give a summary of the beach fee thing or where it is now? There was obviously a workshop, there's meeting, workshop.
Meeting, workshop, and then the final vote was, let's see, I changed it, so we have 350 non-resident passes at $200, which gives you $70,000 out of that.
$200.
So
$200. Oh, yeah, I think they'll be sold.
Yeah, they will
350
still
resident
cheaper than
passes at $200.
What did we propose it?
You said
425.
180, 180.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So they limited, and then just raise the price.
Resident passes stay the same at $40, additional cars stay the same at $5,
Correct.
and
So
it's
then it's just-
service, free service, free pass for
Oh.
service.
military,
military.
yeah. And.
Residents and non-residents?
I
That was just for
residents,
residents,
yes, and free passes for low income.
Yes, we created a low income.
So
Avenue.
who's going to determine that?
So you can fill out an application with the social service navigator, which is through actually the police department, and then they'll like give it a stamp of approval. And so,
So you
certain
bring that
percentage
to
of
the,
every level.
you
Yeah.
bring that when you get your.
yeah, because we didn't want people going to the clerk's office being like, here's my.
Right,
tax
that's
return."
what
Like,
I was
that's not,
wondering.
that, we actually had a lot of discussion kind of offline about like, how would we manage this? Because it's sensitive, but we
Yeah.
also, we don't want people to not be able to access the.
So we get around that to maintain the privacy of the individual.
Agreed, I was wondering how you're gonna
Yeah.
administer that. Do you have an estimate of how many? we're
No,
gonna end up
I,
Giving.
Is that
away?
residents or non? Or
Residents.
Okay.
That's what I think, that would be good data to get a sense
that's
of.
hard data we will actually be able to gather,
Right.
where with what I'm a little disappointed, because I think we kind of, the more we started to speak about it, my preference is to have different type of passes for different types of people. So we can really monitor that, like the senior pass use. And just so we can see what's really happening, because I mean, that's also one of the biggest numbers of free passes that we give out.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think we can do that this year, so it's gonna be interesting to see, because we can't even see what non-residents are coming, and so, I think we have counselors right now who want the data, I want the data, but you also, it's hard to collect data when you have people zooming through your thing.
Right.
And so you can only do so much, so I think, the free passes and the things like that, we'll be able to.
We did talk about a little bit about that, like not making the senior pass free. That was one of the discussion topics, and we ended up coming down and just saying, for this year, we'll just leave
Yeah.
it.
And then that
I'll
$20
pin on this a minute.
Yes.
went through.
Sure.
I was
Roger.
at the last, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was at the last council meeting, or I viewed it at home on TV like I am today. And if I'm wrong, Karen, let me know, but I understand that the price would be from 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, where we will be collecting money, especially in the mornings because of what was mentioned, the people that want to walk the dogs and also the surfers that go out. I think that we need to discuss that we may need an extra person on each of our beaches to collect the money. And when we do that, we can also have a better idea of what is going on in the morning throughout the day and have a better count. So maybe it's 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. Karen, do you remember?
It's 7:30 to 7:30?
7 to 5:30.
7 to 5:30.
7 to 5:30.
Okay. Now, if we're gonna do that with our people collecting money, it would be a great idea of what Karen just said. We'd have a much better idea of what's going on in each gate and, what do we go from there for next year or the following year?
Does staff count maybe how many cars are in the parking lot when they arrive?
We can add that.
That-
to it.
I mean, if, I
At
don't
least
wanna
for
keep
the
adding to
7
their
a.m.
plate,
because
but
it's
like,
not
It
incredibly
will,
busy.
because we already started playing with the language of like on the sign, if any cars, something along the lines, any cars here, 7 a.m. beyond are subject to
Right.
the fee
Yeah.
collection, so.
yeah, no, we get it, it's busy, out there.
That morning collection, as far as like data collection
We
would
can
be
get that.
easier.
Yeah.
It's gonna be harder for them to, again, you
Look
said
at.
Zoom in car, is that a senior pass? Is
Yeah.
that a non-resident
That's
pass?
hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so in summary, the non-resident passes are capped at $350 for 200. The resident passes are not capped. They're $40 each, additional cars for $5, free passes offered to low-income households, seniors, and active military and first responders. And collection times are 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. for a flat $20 fee. And the road with the meters is now $5 instead of $1. I can't think of the.
Bayview?
Bayview,
Correct.
yeah. That's it.
Actually, we know how many free passes we give out. I think Todd had that data.
Yeah, we know how
They
many we
want
give
to
out.
see
How
who's
they're
actually
using
using
it,
them,
right?
yeah.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, is it gonna be the new practice to make everyone affix it to their vehicle?
Yes.
Yeah, so I that was something I emphasized is because that's one of the
That's
issues.
always-
It's always.
Was it that not a practice before?
It literally is printed on the opposite side of the sticker, saying like, this must be affixed to your
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah.
There was articulation though at the town council workshop or whatever it was called that people weren't.
Yeah.
And so people weren't getting a second pass for their vehicle.
Well, and it's like I think the rental properties, I mean, who hasn't been to a rental? They're like, here are all the passes for the beaches, but like we're saying, you cannot, that's not how this works.
Right.
And I was saying, if you lend it to your friend, it's now on your friend's car,
Right,
like,
right,
that's it.
Right.
And so, I don't know.
Doesn't it have
Oh,
your
that's
license?
tricky.
Yeah.
It's linked to your
Yeah,
license,
it's
but
not-
unless it's attached.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could see someone like a rental, like taking it and taping it on and then taping it off and passing it on to the next one. Yeah, I can see that happening.
We're ready to move on, Trish?
Yep. Any other, okay, so thank you, Nick. Any other questions for Nick before we go on? Okay, school site committee update.
Sure,
Alright.
so I'm gonna give you the update that I got from April Scyther, who's the chair and then also liaison, but Bill is here and he is also the liaison committee. So let me give you the update and then if you have questions, I think Bill will probably be a lot better to answer them. So last week, the school building steering committee met and and so they did that survey. They received 1,290 surveys that were completed. And then there was another 692 that started, didn't complete, but we got the data. They said a majority of the issues were school safety and updating the current building infrastructure. Cost and location continue to be the two most cited areas of concern. For the next 2 weeks, the committee is working on paring down the options. So right now there's 5. They want to pare it down to 2. And then they're going to vote on March 24th on on the options, it sounds like.
Of those like 8 in that graphic or whatever that were
Correct.
presented. Okay.
Correct, yeah.
So they've narrowed it down to 5 now
They're
Before they
working
sent out
on
the survey, they narrowed it down
to
to
5.
to 5, and then they're gonna narrow that
Down
down
to
again.
2,
Okay.
yeah. So while they're doing that, they're also doing the site selection subcommittee, which I was told after I started asking more questions is done totally in the executive session at this point. And they've narrowed it down to 8 sites. The top 4 sites are really the ones that they're vetting right now.
How can they decide on a site if they don't know what
Yeah.
size school they're building, like if they're building a
So
mega
some-
school or a
Some
small-
locations will only work if a smaller school is chosen. I agree.
Just
Nope.
wondering.
And so it sounds like we have a workshop on April 2nd with them
Yes,
for an update.
and I've asked that question myself, and I sit on the committee. With April, and it's just frustrating but Tom Hall's doing a good job of analyzing each of the sites so that he can tell you if you want a consolidated school, this site's gonna work and this one won't. So it will, in other words, it'll all work out in the wash at the end, but it sure looks like mush at this point.
So what's gonna be on the referendum then to that point? Will the referendum say consolidated school at this location or is it gonna be an either or?
No, I don't think so. The referendum will present pricing,
Bond, yeah.
a bond
Bond referendum.
for a specific proposal.
Okay,
And that proposal, while in the next couple of weeks, it will get down to two. In the weeks that follow that, through May into June, because, the process, the whole budget process, needs to get wrapped up. School board and then town council to get it on the referendum, by June.
Yeah.
Even though it's November. Because it's part of the budget. And the budget starts July 1.
Right.
When we were picking the community services bond. In the, well, must have been over the summer. We were saying, how could we get it on for November? Were we thinking it was gonna be, we were thinking it was gonna be in June, so now we've lost another 6 months. Yes. Outdated, okay. Just. Not trying to rub
That's
salt on.
why we even had that whole conversation about, is there a way to have them both go at the
That's
same
what I
time
thought.
and kind
I
of join
just-
forces?
I thought I might. be
Your
losing
recollection
my
is correct.
Okay.
Which does make a lot of sense.
And so, Counselor Donovan, has the conversation come up, you know, given that Counselor Sither is looking at these sites, has it come up that it might be a good idea to just think about having the community center close by?
It has, Tom Hall on a number of occasions has said this site would work for both. This site over here would not work for both. And so for those of us who support keeping that option open of being able to, at some point in the future, build a community center in an economical manner, meaning we've got the land already, that's going to influence our decision.
Has that question been promoted when you're asking for feedback? Because I think we've got a sense from what we were, our work, that there is pretty widespread support for community center. And would the fact that the community center went with the school help nudge that across the finish line?
They did
Yes.
not like that when I said.
I know, but I think it's worth bringing up again,
But-
because this is a whole, like, it wasn't, I didn't see it on the survey as.
That's why I
Question.
didn't
That's
either.
what I,
Yeah.
that's what I was wondering, as well as if the community knew these sites would allow X.
Right.
These ones don't.
I think it should be a bigger part of the conversation, and I'm grateful that you.
Yeah, and
brought it
but
up,
I'm not
because I
on
think we
that
need to bring
committee,
it
and
up
I,
again.
I will tell you, I brought it up to the resident who is the chair of the committee, so the resident chair, and he just said he feels like it clouds the issue and it concerns people when we start bringing in a whole nother idea. And I mean, my perception, and I'm one of the few people that have been trying to push this through, and that committee is focused on solving the school solution, and generally, I do not feel like they want to talk about a community center.
Which
But
is
if that
great,
fails,
Right.
again.
right,
then
and you
here we
have,
are.
I think there is support for community center in a different demographic.
Correct.
That is going to support the schools.
Mhm.
And again, it goes back to my perception is this town does things chunky.
Yep.
And it never gets done.
Yeah.
Right.
So if
Take it
you're a
down.
little bit longer foresight, you're gonna bring in more support. You're like, oh, I'm gonna vote for this because that means I can play pickleball inside 3
Yeah.
years from now.
Well, and more
Yeah.
people might show up at the
To
poll
vote.
too. I mean, when you
That's
look at
how-
like the percentage of how many residents do we have, how many voted for the school last time, overwhelmingly no. But what about all the people that didn't at all? And so if it at least gives the option. It's having it as part of the conversation. If
Oh,
people
I
don't
agree.
care, they don't like it, then fine, but
Yep.
it would, I will say. It would be something that would change how I acted.
Agreed.
If I knew it was both, because we know from multiple surveys.
Yeah.
That I don't think there's people that don't want a community center, like that'd be odd.
Does it make sense? You're sitting on the committee. Does it make sense from a strategic standpoint for our committee to chat with someone? I don't know what, I'm
We
asking
did
you
this,
because
like,
you
I'm looking
did,
at you like,
right?
Todd.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
We did. We did.
but I think, but it's now all different people, so I think there is value in that. And my point is that there's precedent, so we should go with it. Not that we.
I think you should do it. I think you should engage as much as you want. I think the issue is we need to have a plan if that fails in November. I'm tired of this, like, this failed. Oh, let's put the community center aside again
Right.
and continue to address this, because then we're just ignoring, I think, the needs and wants of the community at that point.
And the perception of the
Yeah.
community outside of Scarborough is really starting to go down. And I know this for a fact because one of my stresses is a real estate situation. And
Yeah.
I'm hearing from other people,
Yeah.
kind of the same stuff that I heard when you had the whole superintendent brouhaha.
Right,
Scarborough is not looking too good
right.
now.
Karen, what is the council's, what do you think the council's position is then if it does fail? Do you think we would have support to push the community center forward for the next ballot? Because that.
No,
it was
no,
simple
no.
stuff.
And
something
it's
still has to
gotta
keep
keep
school,
pushing the school
right?
down the road.
No, and I think that's where, you know,
That's,
you really need,
there's a strong sentiment to solve the school problem first.
Yep.
No matter what. And so it would be hard to overcome that, which leaves us and community services as a poor second cousin, waiting our turn. And having been the president of the library for the last 5 years,
Yeah, you would just.
Where- we're back here,
Right,
and recognize that
right. But see, that's why I'm wondering, the library, you had one set of supporters, but maybe not others, which
Right.
was short-sighted again. I supported the library. If you bundle, is that a whole new approach to Scarborough and maybe a way out of this conundrum and this
But is-
whatever we keep falling into?
And is the method talking to the committee? Sending some type of written proposal, or is it one of, a letter to the editor type thing?
so one of my
For the
theories in that you're kind of touching on is people don't like big numbers. So
Mm.
like what
Yeah.
concerns me and what I think is concerning about the process that we're in is I'm concerned that this huge project that we're requesting is the problem. And so, one of the, I think we're asking for a huge school that is gonna be over 100 million and it's getting close to what we just asked for a year ago. Like, it's just creeping. So then we're gonna hit everyone up for that. We have to do this. And then we're gonna turn around and we're gonna say, we want 80 million. No, it's probably almost close to 90 now.
Yeah.
I'm concerned, and I think one of the comments that I made was, I don't know if we need to like reevaluate what we're proposing and break it down to something smaller, where I can't wait longer and longer for this 80 million project. But what if we're asking for a $10 million senior center or teen center, and I'm not trying to go sideways. I'm just saying, I'm concerned at some point, this is all gonna be moot. All that work we did in 5 years, they said it's gonna be useless. And then we're gonna be proposing a community center over 100 million. And I want something, and I feel like the library needs something, we need something, and people do not like big numbers. And that's kind of my thought is, especially I have a teenager where
But
I'm
they
like,
like
I
big-
just want a
but
teen
they like
center
big
at the
numbers.
library, add it on. And that, like, there's certain things.
But on that point, maybe I agree with you. But is there a way to at least have the site be able to accommodate a community center, even if we're not paying for it now? Like, that would be in part of the site selection, at least, even if you're not marketing the bond for the community center.
I think we're a little late to the show. I think you need to start showing up to the meetings, reach out to the chair immediately and say, are you
We talked
consider?
about this almost, like,
We
Yeah,
have.
we did,
Considering-
we did.
Okay, you can follow up with him. I mean, at this point, you can continue to bug him and all you can say is if this fails, is you should say you should bother and they put a community center on. I honestly don't.
Well, it sounds
What
like
is it?
Tom has given some considerations in.
He does, and
saying,
he's
like,
totally saying this is good, this is not, but ultimately,
Right. you need
they're also
voters
gonna be
to
making,
hear it.
they're also
Right.
gonna.
Right, a lot of people don't go to those meetings, a lot of people don't listen to the town council meetings, but they look at what's on the ballot and they look at that. And if the voters don't know that that's something that needs to be considered, then everything's gonna fail.
Right.
That's what we have to figure out how to do, is we need to figure out how to get voters to hear it.
I think we're assuming that the community doesn't like large numbers when the community center has not gone out to ballot to show that. And I think that if it goes out to ballot, I think it's gonna overwhelmingly pass.
I think I'll pass no matter
Honestly,
what the
It,
dollar.
it hits every single demographic in this community.
Yep.
And I just don't see how it can't.
So
But
maybe
that's-
we
Concerned
sell
about
it as a community center, and by the way, we'll add a school to the back.
Yeah, right.
I actually think that would pass.
I mean, maybe that's the way to break the ice on them, on showing that this is something that, these are the dollars, this is the figure that you have to look at for large investments in the community. But I mean, it's really a shame to keep kicking it down because we think that the community doesn't want to spend that kind of money when I think they would. I 100% think they would.
And I think the next couple of months are critical because we're going to have this committee make a recommendation to the school board as to the site and what it's going to be developed to respond to for needs. And if we're on record, community services, as we want to be able to have a site that would also accommodate a very popular from all surveys, community center, let's go with that. And I think that's the message. I'd be happy to carry that back.
If you could, that
to-
would be great. And then
Yeah.
if you feel like it makes sense for someone on this committee to join or
Yes.
reiterate or write a letter to the editor, just let us know.
Okay,
And, you know, when, Nick is talking to, I don't know, could that be part of his welcome tour? Like, and we wanna,
We'll be making.
and quick. Yeah,
So are you requesting me to, as part of my budget process?
no, I'm just saying, could you be starting to talk to these people? I mean, like, Trish, sorry, I work with a Trisha, and now I can't get it in my head.
So
Trish
either way.
was talking about us being volunteers, and not that you need more on your plate, but if you could talk it up to these people, Tom Hall.
Well, and I think Todd sat on the last committee and I really don't feel like he felt like I don't know what his participation was, but I think,
He wasn't heard.
yeah, that's kind of the impression I got.
Yeah.
I think he
And-
felt like if he was still here, he would go back to those meetings when it was the time to have those pieces said. He felt like there was so much
Right.
posturing, for lack of better
Yeah,
word,
no,
that it was not a waste of his time, but like it
Yeah.
wasn't productive for the purposes of the community center.
Right.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think it would hurt for the board to send an email or letter to council. And the liaison to the board, the other committee for the school. With desires and putting out the notice.
Yeah.
That we, maybe you switch the marketing technique that it's, at least that you request that they look at spaces. That could to do both.
Yeah, so
It
it's
can't hurt.
our April 2nd meeting, we have a workshop. So that would be the appropriate time to probably send an email to the school board and the town council and say, as you enter that workshop, we really think you need to have that in consideration. And I will reiterate it again, we've had one workshop and I asked that question as well. And they pretty much just like, oh, no, we're not really considering it.
So what is the key message that we would like?
We
them
want the school to
consider?
pass. And we think that if you put something, this is my message. I think if you put the community center with the school or the idea of land that we can
Right.
expand on, you're gonna get people who would otherwise vote no to go, oh my God, I'm getting my community center. This is the first step to and it is.
Okay, yeah.
And that's where I'm going. And I think people might support that bigger number if you're like, we're buying a bigger lot.
Yep.
So,
Alex, you were on that committee. Would you like to,
Poor man.
would you be willing, because you have a political job where you are in Portland a little bit, would you be willing to draft something and send it to us and we all co-sign it with you?
Think about that.
I think Roger just volunteered. my lot. My talk was him.
Hey, Roger.
Think about that.
I mean, if that's, I would say, I think everyone on this committee, am I wrong, that we're kind of all on the same page with the same messaging? And we would send it to the school board and the committee, so you'd give us the contact information for that, I don't know what it is.
Yep.
Something
And
that
the town
hasn't been
council.
tried,
Yeah,
it's
why
something
not
that
try
hasn't
it?
been listened to.
Mhm.
By other parties. We've
And
got
it's a
nothing.
new idea to get something that we've been trying to pass for a while
right.
to pass. Instead of trying to do the same old thing. And sending out another survey.
It's just a matter of drafting, so I technically was on that committee, but then
Oh.
I went to one meeting, because
counts.
But we know you're very good at that.
Yes.
So you know what, the
Well,
meetings
it's fine,
were
but-
unreasonably long, unreasonably often, and for a single parent and attorney, it was incomprehensible. Anyway, but my name is technically on like the committee, so I don't wanna take from Alex what he clearly wants to do. But
He's jumping out of the seat.
I'm used to drafting things with advocacy in mind, so I don't know how soon we need it, and I have to be realistic. I have a very significant bill coming up for the legislature. That's my primary focus right now, but if you were to say, oh, give us like, you know, we have it in like 3 weeks. I
The
could
meeting's
probably
in,
do
the
that.
meeting's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
No, 3 weeks.
Well, is it, what, yeah,
Like,
three.
what's the date?
April 2nd.
April 2nd.
It's a Tuesday, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So probably we need it by April 1st.
Oh,
I think we need to start, like, yeah, I mean. I can write it,
I can't say.
I'm not
it would
doing
get to
anything
us any
before
sooner than
Tuesday,
that.
that's all.
I can write it.
Go for it. And then share
And
with
then-
the rest of
And then
us.
I'll feisty it up.
Thank you,
How
that would
about
be
that?
great, we're a good team, I'll
And
put
Alex,
official and
Yeah.
You can certainly add your perspective,
Because-
because I think it's important, given that you work in a municipality and you've done these things, I think your voice would be very
I'll be happy. I'd be
Well,
happy
and
to
I can
contribute.
forward, I think this was what was in my mind about the structure of it. I just don't have time to actually do it this week, but is to take all of the things that the committee has looked at, those different stages. And almost, I mean, you can almost bullet it and show why what we're proposing helps support each of those things. And then the general reminder about, you know, what the community actually universally wants. And how the voters need to be better informed of that option. If that's the general structure, then that's easy enough to do.
Does that sound reasonable to both of you?
No, I think that's great.
And that won't be the only letter we all end up writing. Let me tell you, this will,
Maybe it'll
Maybe it'll
start.
stick out because it's more positive, like
Right.
it's a way forward, not saying,
Right,
I don't
yeah.
want this and I don't want my taxes
Right.
to go up. It's not
community
negative,
services
it's
says
positive.
it. And it reminds everybody that, oh yeah, we'd love to have a community center. Then there'll be others that will start to pick up and carry.
Nick, are you okay with us doing that? I mean, we're only your advisory board, your community services. Are you okay if we do this?
Yeah, I don't think, I think it's, you know, on your behalf as a committee, you have a voice and a say in how the community moves forward, whether it be a school, a community center, or both. You know, it's at your liberties to do so. I can have conversations with Tommy, giving the heads up that the letter's coming forward.
We're offering our help.
That's what,
Yeah.
I agree, but I just wanna,
It's not a detriment at all. I think it's
Okay.
So
supportive.
it's going to the school board and the town council and the SBAC, whatever.
Yeah.
And then while we're doing it, we might as well just send it to the editor. Right? Or is that,
no,
Why
go
not?
for it.
Why not?
That might have to be changed a little bit.
yeah,
We can have two versions.
Is anybody gonna read it now that it's not being printed anymore?
I know, I was gonna say, does anyone read the letters to the editor?
But then-
Wait,
I
they're
do.
not, they're not being printed?
No,
Uh,
it's gotta be online.
All of the paper stuff is now being digital.
But then you
Oh, I don't
can
know.
take the digital copy and share it on social media.
Yeah.
So that's easier
Exactly.
to
We
do.
take the digital copy. and
Oh,
print
like
it.
you put on the Scarborough Moms Facebook group and everyone knows.
I was picked out of that.
Does it-
Started a different one.
The woman who runs it
Oh,
doesn't like me.
I just go to it to look for like plumbers and electricians. but-
That's what I used it for.
All right, moving on. Here we go.
So that's, are we done with the school?
Yes.
Thank you very much. All right, so the next agenda item, which is kind of already covered to some extent, was sort of review what our committee goals were. And Emily was very helpful in putting these down. So the support of the community center. We still, that's still one of our goals, right?
Yes.
Our
Absolutely.
main goal.
The beach environment, we're still working on that.
We're gonna have to
evidently.
do that, we're gonna do
Do
that
it anyway.
anyways in fall to
Yep.
see what this season brought.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, and then the other one was sort of recruitment and create a volunteer base, which we sort of set aside a little bit.
So I think that we haven't certainly accomplished these goals, but I think unless something comes to our plate that we need to add to the agenda on the next meeting, potentially these first two could like take a back burner because like we have a plan of how we're gonna reach out to the school. The beach fees just happened, so like when the amendments come in, that's something that we can review, but I think that we can move on to a new goal or, you know, the goal we haven't touched yet and go from there.
Well, and in addition to the beach fees, Nick said that those things for like Herd Park and those things that were pieces of the goals of helping like support those being accomplished will be done, so.
Yeah.
Terribly successful.
I think I would propose, I liked what Nick said, and I think we've talked about it here, and I've talked about it in my Scarborough social circle, the expansion of programming. When you compare our programming to South Portland's programming, or Cape Elizabeth, or Portland, we really fall short. Yeah, thank you, Emily. You're good at summing it up in one word. Yes, we have a lot that we could be doing, even, and one of the things, you know, that comes up, we don't have a community center. I understand that. We're working on that. I think we can still, a lot of the programming can be done without a community center.
100%, and we did talk about that as well, but we specifically narrowed it down, and I'm trying to
I
find.
know
It
we
was
said like
ages, it was
younger
different
kids,
age groups.
yeah.
It was 0 to.
It was 0 to 5, because that was the one I was yelling
Yeah.
about, but,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna find which ones, or the other things that we had said, and that maybe if we wanna pick one of those and work towards that, but I think, if we keep the volunteer recruitment base on here, that alone, I mean, could take up the rest of the year. So I think maybe if we wanna like
That's a
pick,
Mount Everest goal.
yes,
It is,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Not just
Sorry.
this department either,
Mhm.
like, it
It's,
really is like a
it's
town-wide
every,
thing.
100%, but we're looking to start it here and helping it to
Yeah.
grow throughout the town, but we need to like get it rolling.
At one point, Todd asked us all to send ideas for programming. So we can resend those. I don't know if anyone
I
else
think we
did.
did, that was how we created that summary list, right?
Maybe we could share that with Nick, so we can get.
That's fine.
Yeah, we had spent a lot of time summarizing goals and where in the programming we thought that it would be like, I don't know, holes or areas of improvement.
Did you all do a similar document like we did with the dog? Leash?
We
or-
did,
or
but that's what-
beach fees and everything?
that's
that
what I'm-
showed What other communities were doing to evaluate.
We
and
did not
actually
do
come
that.
to
No,
that
because I think,
conclusion?
no, because we were already identifying, like, we already knew the holes that were already here.
We
Or we
used that
just assume- are we
survey, remember
assuming
that big
that's
report,
what
the
that's
master
Oh my
plan?
gosh.
Oh, no, we 100%.
Alex, we used that master plan that they'd hired
Yes.
Barry Dunn to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that has so much data in it, like where we could expand, where other communities were doing it.
Right.
So we didn't put that together. We used that as our
basis.
basis for coming up with where we thought we could add.
Does anybody remember if we did that last year or the year before?
I think we did it about a year ago, a year.
I can't remember when, it was like
Now.
as soon as I.
Yeah, it was a while
joined, so
ago.
almost
Yeah, I
2
think it
years
was 2 years ago
already.
because we've been working on beach fees and community center.
I'm not trying to add goals to the group but it is a very much a need in terms of feedback that we've received over the course of the years. And just from my quick view of our athletic fields, we are in desperate need of
Yeah.
additional athletic fields to support the programming that we
Oh,
already
100%.
Yeah.
in addition to, boosting programs. So that could be a part of the programming piece, but we have, soccer groups and various, sports groups that want to utilize facilities that we just don't have. So, working with maybe the open space or, different group subsets of acquisition of land to support athletic facilities, whether that be at the community center, at a school site that gets picked and determined, additional athletic fields are a must for us to.
Oh,
to
agreed.
move.
Okay, I believe I found the document, which
Oh, yeah, that
looks like
it.
this.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we broke it down into 3 different categories, which was immediate needs, 0 to 3 years.
Yeah.
3, which was, immediate need, and then planning and developed was 3 to 5 years. So in our immediate need, it was support the community center development process, the maintenance of facilities, the beach environment, volunteer recruitment, community partner development, programming development. And then of the programming development, the targets that we identified was 0 to 6, adults, which was young adults, active adults, and seniors, and outdoor recreation and nature,
So that.
and staff professional development. So those were the immediate needs that we had addressed. And so of all of the needs, the 3 that we had essentially set as our goal in 2023 to continue working in 2024 was the community center, the beach environment, and volunteer recruitment. And in 2 years, we worked on, and are still working on 2 of those goals.
And the other ones we haven't.
We haven't touched, no.
So Is that document in the Google Drive?
It is, yeah, I can,
You just like
Resend it out,
link
yeah.
For that or
Yeah.
highlight it. So. I think we're all in agreement that these are the goals we want to continue to work on, and as part of the programming, we can tuck in the athletic field. So,
I think those are two separate things because I think that is referencing maintenance versus like the creation of programming.
Well, it's a finding of space.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
two,
that
that's,
is
they're,
very, like,
they're related, but they are
Right.
also different, yeah.
so. Okay, so recruitment and volunteer, programming, and then athletic field facilities are our next three goals, even though we're not abandoning these other two, but I think we've kind of taken it as far as we can at this point.
Mhm.
So do we want to pick? So kind of segueing into item 10, which is our 2025 meetings and agendas for the next meetings. We have set on it, and we don't have the input from Daryl and Brittany, so I don't know, but our next scheduled meetings are May 8th, July 10th, September 11th, November 13th. These are Thursdays at 6 p.m. if that still works for people.
Does anybody have conflicts before or after or timing, or do we want to push them?
I have a conflict on Thursdays, but I will make it work. Because,
Alex, too.
But
Do you
I
want
don't
to,
have
do you want to,
Thursdays either, but.
yeah,
Do
okay.
you wanna
well, then there's
propose a different
couple
day?
Of us that are feeling the same way, could we do
Wednesdays?
Wednesdays?
I love Thursdays, but it's fine.
But are you free?
You've got a conflict.
Well, not really.
All right, throw your hand up for Mondays. Throw your hand up for Mondays.
I'm not opposed to Mondays. I love a Monday meeting, to start the week off.
Pick a day. Throw your hand up for Monday.
Please not Mondays.
Okay, Tuesday,
Town council meetings and school boards on
Wednesdays.
Oh,
Okay.
on Wednesdays.
And no, town and school boards are on Thursday.
Oh, sorry.
So that.
but
was
councils,
Tuesday.
we have how often there?
First and third,
And
Third.
then on
Wednesday.
Wednesdays, but then the second Wednesday, we have ordinance.
So you have three
Oh, yeah.
Wednesdays during
Yeah,
the month that are.
Actually, all my Wednesdays are. The fourth
So
Wednesday is
Tuesday?
Conservation Commission.
Do I?
That's
do it for
true.
Tuesdays?
Was there?
You can't do Tuesday. Oh. Okay,
Sorry.
back to Mondays? Oh, you can't do Mondays. Okay, that's how we ended
I
up with
just-
Thursday.
All of my other board meetings. are
Thursdays
on
sound very
Mondays.
good.
This is the only night I can do it. This is the only time, yeah, but I can't limit this board for me because of me.
Right,
I
but
would-
it is,
What time
But
is
is
it
it a
on?
uh, 7:30 to 9.
Oh.
So if
So we
we
just,
could,
Free?
No, I
Or
have a
is it
meeting,
fine?
another
It's
meeting.
still-
could we start at 5:45?
I mean, just 15 minutes really.
What about
Well, but then,
5:30?
yeah, like it's 7:20. We're gonna be out of here by 7:30 tonight.
Yeah, let's keep it the same and I'm just gonna do, I'll just.
If you delete
shuffle.
5 minutes.
Alex, do you have
Yeah,
Because-
absolutely.
conflict
Yeah,
before or
I know.
after, or just for the day in general?
Thursdays in summertime in general.
Okay.
He just is ready for the weekend.
When you say summertime, June, July, August, because I was thinking we at least only have one meeting.
I feel like we haven't met in July in like the last
Last
2
year.
years anyway,
Last
so.
year.
Can we talk about it? Like,
Canceled and we went to the town council meeting for something instead.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
that was for
That could
community.
accommodate
It was
the
for the
community center,
yeah.
would also help with the fields.
I don't know.
Right.
Why not?
Yes.
So you kill two
Let's
birds
just
with
cancel
one
now.
stone.
I'll put
Well,
that in my-
why don't we do, I would say, why don't we do
Let's stick
a,
to what we have.
no, an email
Or-
conversation, so not have an in-person meeting, but like, let's say on that day. Yes, we'll say like, this is what we wanted to talk about and start a thread between everybody and
Is
have
that additional
conversation
in terms
going.
of being available to the public for comment or anything like that?
Could
No,
you zoom
Because
in?
that's
or
what
does
I
it not
thought if
help
we
at
had a
all?
Zoom meeting. And we would say
Not
it's,
really
you know,
here.
like a 30-minute Zoom
area
meeting
on
or
those
something.
Thursdays.
We're not elected.
In summertime or any Thursdays?
No, I know, I just,
Yeah.
if we were
Oh,
required
so
to.
you're just missing July 10th.
Which we usually cancel
Yeah, in
anyway, so,
September, But
Oh, okay.
all right, so.
I can make them, I can,
Could all go to concerts.
Here we go.
I might just miss one.
Let's go to Florida with Roger and then we can just be on
Yeah.
that level.
I have to get going, now, sorry.
Okay,
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you. I guess for now, we'll stay there. a little
Yeah,
bit.
it sounds like it.
Um,
There's a reason we're on
so,
Thursdays.
so staying with those, the second Thursday of the month, 6 to 8 at these dates.
Oh, you know what?
And we rarely go to 8, to be honest, like.
Oh, I feel like some
Depends
days we
on-
do. yeah.
We're not
depending on the
You know,
conversation.
when I started, we never went past
Yeah.
7:15, and then
Right.
it was, okay, this
Okay.
particular meeting will
Yeah.
not take, because I remember I.
Can we
had
switch,
that
could
down,
we,
which I was
and
like,
maybe it doesn't matter,
To a
It's-
different Thursday? of
Yes,
the month?
that would be, because it's
We
just,
used to
what's
be the
what's
third.
It
today?
used to be the third, you can't do
I-
that, right?
So this is, oh my gosh, I don't even, okay, so today's 13th, so it's a second, right now we're doing the second Tuesday,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be able to decode what I'm saying. but-
I was to say.
Thank you, that's, yes, for everyone else, so you did get it. Thank you. If we switch Thursdays, does that throw you off?
No,
Just-
that means I can come, 'cause the second Thursday I have finance committee and I'm always wicked late to this.
What Thursday can you not come?
I think I'm okay, cause we switched it so I can go to another meeting, but I haven't been going to those ones, so I think I'm now more amenable to doing any
Check
Thursday.
out the new kids too,
Yeah,
if that's, I mean.
They haven't
they're-
come, so.
haven't
Yeah.
Come,
yeah, kidding.
They
So
like
what,
when they get a
what
vote.
if we switch to a different Thursday?
Yes,
the
I'm
month? Does
free the
anyone-
first Thursday and the third and the fourth. Say it, Amanda, I hear you talking out loud.
I
What's your
just, I
issue?
live and die by my calendar, so I'm like, I'm
Okay.
checking it about them. I always do like the third, I always feel like when it's the first, it sneaks up on people.
Yeah, especially with 4th of July and New Year's.
Yeah.
So that would make us,
May 15th, I will not be here. I have work.
let's keep the next one the same, so that, for
So
the
May
short
8th,
term,
yeah.
May 8th. And then
Skip
July,
July or do by Zoom.
yep, July's gonna be by Zoom.
So this would be a September. call.
September 12th, it would be September.
I mean, there's
12th.
only 2 more meetings after that. I mean,
Right,
if that's the
September
case, then why
12th
bother?
And November 14th.
Is that Thanksgiving? Are we running into
I'm sorry,
Thanksgiving?
did you say September 12th?
September 12th.
That's
That
a
would be
Friday. It would be the
So-
18th.
Sorry,
No, no, you're.
yeah.
That'd be
you're
the
right. I'm Sorry,
18th.
18th, I was going one day ahead.
And
And then November 20th,
20th.
would that be Thanksgiving?
No, it's the 22nd.
That works out well.
Okay, so then, did you get those, Emily? May 8th, July 10th, leave it as a placeholder for now. September 18th and November 20th.
Thank you.
And for the next meeting, because you do like to kind of get our agendas before we wrap up, do we want to talk about volunteer recruitment? Do we want to shuffle out the program?
Well, I think we need
I'd
to
like
go
to
back
talk
to
about-
goals because I don't think we finished that conversation. Like we said that we are supporting the community center and we did the beach environment, which we are at a place where we are supporting that and we don't have any current action items for that.
Right.
But then we need to decide like, are we spending the rest of the year on a volunteer base or are we adding in another goal? Personally, I feel like we should pick one and stick with it because of how long beach fees took us and everything else. If we just add in more stuff, it's just gonna get pushed.
Well, those are the, in fairness to us, this was the 2 biggest issues
Yeah.
that we tackled. I would like, this is unpopular to Emily, and I don't like to upset Emily, like to talk about programming.
I agree with you. I agree. So of the things that we had said for the immediate need of first year is support the community center, maintenance of facilities, beach environment, volunteer recruitment, programming, and staff professional development. So of the ones that we haven't touched would be facilities, volunteer recruitment, programming, and staff professional
Why don't
development.
we,
Programming sounds most fun.
why don't we compare programming with other communities?
Yes, I love that.
Like we did with the.
They're gonna blow us out of the water.
So you can't run programs without good volunteers and
Well,
staff.
except,
So
Well,
with
if we
this,
start with the programming conversation, and no one's to say we can't also have a
but
conversation.
hold off, you've done a lot of work on programming and you have a lot of proposals. We're an advisory board. What can we do to assist you and support you with that mission?
For
Rather
this
than
next
go off
meeting
on a
or for this next year?
for the rest of the
Yes.
year.
The rest of your life.
Well, I think we should need to identify our target audience. Are we focusing on younger programming, middle-age programming, adult programming, active adult?
0 to
What-
6, young, active, and senior adults, and specifically outdoor recreation and nature programming.
So
the-
what we do one.
But that
why
was
don't
2 years
we-
ago. I feel
Right.
like
Nothing's changed though.
Why don't we send you this document? You have a link. And why don't we put programming and we can flesh it out a little bit more between now and May 8th, but put programming as our discussion topic. for the
So we're-
May meeting.
Works, we can narrow it down. to
Right, right.
Whatever.
So May would be programming instead of volunteer.
Yep.
Okay.
And I sort of feel like I agree with you, Emily, that we want to have one that we're focused on because we can go off on tangents, but by the same token, as we've seen, we'd have to fluctuate back and forth between the community center and beach environment because we're not doing this in isolation. We have to like bounce back and forth. So I don't want to get so focused on programming if we can't do anything about programming, but another issue comes. So I'd like to have like maybe two that we can. bust.
So maybe programming and volunteer.
Right,
Okay.
And tying them back to town council
Right,
goals.
right.
That they've set forth.
Yeah.
as well.
exactly.
Well, this document, specifically addresses, or, so like, let's say for under supporting the community center, like it specifically lists like goal 3.2 in the master plan. So like, if you look at 3.2, it takes this goal and the bullet points that we are looking to help support that. So each of these have supporting documentation in that plan to
I know what you're saying.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay, yep,
He decodes you.
yep.
And if there are other updated goals from the town council, because this is dated, this is like 2 years.
Yeah,
ago.
I was just looking at our goals and I was having a hard time kind of pulling out what might actually apply to this
It's tough.
board.
We looked at it
Nicole and I were
today.
doing
Yeah,
this
no, and that's why I
exercise.
didn't really bring them up.
Patient,
this
but I
one?
feel like we would follow suit,
Yeah.
whatever.
No,
happens
there's
with
nothing
that.
specific coming out of our goals this year. I think
lot of
that
How can
planning
it not be a
stuff.
community center?
The only one that ties
Was
to
not.
long range facilities. to-
I think, yeah, I think the only goal that we have is in regards to the school where we already discussed, you guys can try to engage in the conversation about getting land.
When you say this year, you're talking about,
So in January, we met, had, and then voted on our new goals for this council this year.
so
Which runs
25.
through November.
Okay.
All right, so the next meeting will be addressing programming.
Begin the conversation.
And then July, we could feel if something comes up or continue addressing programming. And then between the September and the November meetings, we can continue down the programming path or something new or start on volunteer.
When we talked about dog fees and parking fees, we did a big Google sheet. Does it make sense to do that before the next meeting? Or should we hear from Nick first and then do that?
I'd rather the latter, just because it's also been so long since we've looked at that
That's-
document.
yeah.
I'd rather like streamline it and see
Yes,
where
you're
we're
right.
at now,
Yes.
and then do
Okay.
that effort.
Plus, you've got a lot going.
So you're gonna send me the document and then you want me to report back to you what I think is feasible or what our ideas are in terms of programming moving forward.
Maybe the latter. You've got good ideas. You have ideas. You've already said clearly when you started that you've got some programming ideas. We don't need to spin wheels if you're kind of going down the track.
Just trying to get a roadmap.
Great. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? All right, a motion to adjourn. Oh, go. I'm sorry.
While we have two of our town councilors here, concerning the beach fees. Process.
Yeah.
On your end.
Go hard.
I want to thank everyone. You guys, we all did a great job with that, and for those that attended 3 meetings after the fact. I appreciate your inputs and what you suggested and thought process with it all, and I'm not focusing on you two, on the town council
Yeah.
in general. I was extremely disappointed for the fact that we brought you the recommendations, which is great. We had first reading, then a scheduled workshop, which is great. And then we came to the second reading where 8, 9, 10 amendments were proposed. But then there was no availability of citizen feedback. Each one has its plus and minus. I found myself biting my tongue on a couple things said because we could have answered them. And maybe enlightened that I thought should have been done at the workshop. Or could have been done at the workshop. And had those amendments ready in hand or allowed for citizen feedback.
Yeah.
One of them was Counselor Cushing's thought process on modern technology and gates and such. Todd had already done that. I think twice, if not 3 times.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Bruce Gulliford, I think, did it once, and Todd did it twice. So we have some of that information.
Yeah.
Where that technology isn't feasible. in the
Right.
Locations that we're at, unfortunately. That alone would have saved 10, 12 minutes of that meeting.
Yep.
Of a very long, drawn out process that citizens didn't have a chance to give input. So I just wanted to share, I don't know what can be done. I don't want to pretend I play politics and
I
One-
shared your concern. John Anderson came late to the table with a whole raft of changes, but I agreed with most of them. But did they get properly vetted?
Right,
No,
right.
because they came very late. The Bayview Avenue is the only place that charges by the meter. And all of a sudden, Roger's saying, that's crazy, $1, and we're gonna charge $20 to park way the heck up there and walk to the beach.
Yeah,
So
don't get me wrong,
I was very late to the game in that one.
I don't mind the thoughts, we can't think of everything, and everybody has great ideas at times. But when we came to that first meeting, it didn't seem like many of the counselors had even read the packet or the suggestions coming into.
Yeah.
So we weren't even addressed at the meeting.
Remember
for
that?
questions.
Well,
Yeah.
the information that was submitted for the first read was not all the information you guys did. And I think that immediately created an issue where we have a very active council who was like, this is not enough for us to make that change. And with the loss of Todd, I mean, when Todd stood up in front of us, we all knew Todd and we saw Todd for the last
Yeah.
10 years. Whatever Todd said, we believed him and we
Sure.
voted for it.
Sure.
I think the first packet was lacking. I don't know why Tom Hall did not notice the packet was lacking. Did not speak to the fact that Todd had already done this research before. I did not know that.
Sure.
And so I think this was not the normal process. I feel like we have a council who maybe is being a little, somewhat responsive to resident feedback, where, oh, residents want to talk about beach fees, where we're like, this is just normal course of, in my mind, this is normal course of business. One of the things we did learn was we had a former counselor from Portland come down, and she said the way that they did it in Portland was, the first read was no one said anything. They just read it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it was not uncommon for what, actually, the second read was when then you got all the amendments and all of the actual council engagement and conversation. That was actually interesting for me to hear, because she's like, that's how we do it in Portland.
Which is different.
It's
Because
very
other
different, and I'm not-
communities, the second reading is the
And
stamp
so
of approval.
The way that we
Already
did it,
done
this
for
is not how we normally do it. A first read, a workshop, and things like that. Also, when has council ever been so involved in beach fees? I mean, you tell me, you've been here the longest
Yeah.
now. I was
Absolutely.
like, they've never looked at this like this before.
Yeah,
And I think it's the loss of Todd, and we have new counselors on who are like number crunchers and they want to make as much money as we can, but then not charge the resident. I think,
the way it was set up.
Yeah.
Especially with the newspapers too, I thought everybody and their brother was gonna be talking.
that's what we
And
thought.
we had 2 comments
I know.
and they were in favor.
Yep.
That was, well, one wasn't, but, I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, very good. Tom said, he
And
said,
and I
he
didn't
said,
think
if
it was
we
gonna
don't
be-
get any more comments, just duck and let's move forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I just,
Yeah,
Because beach
It's an app.
fees,
it was like
Normal.
polishing a cannonball.
No, it was-
It just seemed ridiculous.
yeah, no,
I
I,
also think we got the impression that we'd spent a lot of work on doing this, and we didn't have an opportunity to really clearly express that, and to Art's point.
Yeah.
We had the answers, and again, I'll go back to the same point I made when we started the meeting. It does not send a good message to volunteers.
No.
Who spend months and months doing it, and then they get shoved under the bus.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, these volunteers are also taxpayers, who also vote
Yeah.
town council members.
yeah,
So you gotta
But
be
thank
careful.
you, I mean, I wanted to share it. and-
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else before I inadvertently call for the conclusion of the meeting?
Move
Hearing,
to adjourn.
thank you. Anybody else?
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned at 6:30.